Got a story from a cop buddy of mine. Doesn't want his name out for obvious reasons. He's got a wild tale about this creepy creature spotted on multiple runs to the same damn farm in the sticks of Pennsylvania. So, my buddy, who's been on the force for years, gets a call from this random farm out in the middle of nowhere. Something's causing a ruckus on the property. As he's heading down that deserted road to the farm, little did he know he was about to have a close encounter. Except with something really freaky, not aliens. The farm was freaky quiet, like scary movie quiet. It was pitch black all around, and the only thing lighting up the place was the flickering porch lamp, long, creepy shadows dancing around every time the wind blew. Using his flashlight to cut through the darkness, he headed towards the farmhouse. Being on high alert was nothing new for him, but this time it felt different. Felt super weirded out by how quiet it was, getting more creeped out with every step. Tried to look around with my flashlight on the frosty fields when I spotted something. Saw this tall figure in the distance, crawling on all fours super fast. Looked human but twisted and freaky. This skinny and eerie thing looked like it hadn't eaten in forever. Its face totally freaked me out. It had big black eyes that glowed against my flashlight, some freakish mouth, and weirdly no nose. When it saw me, it bolted off and vanished in the dark. The lingering, weird, clicky noise was the only sign it was ever there. Scared and confused as hell, couldn't stop wondering what that thing was. Where'd it come from? Was it going to cause trouble? So basically, the dude thought he'd run into some standard critter or creep. When the sun finally came up, I swear something in me changed. The thing disappeared that night, but I got the feeling it was far from over. In the following weeks, as Pennsylvania winter gave way to spring, he tried to get back to his regular life. But no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't shake off the memory of this freaky, pale creature he saw there that crawled around and made clicky noises. A few months later, spring coming around, the cop got called back to that same out-of-the-way farmhouse. Not just a disturbance this time. The farm animals had started vanishing. He showed up at the farm, feeling that same creeped-out feeling from before. It was lonesomer than ever with the evening shadows and the last of the daylight. He went to the barn, feeling pretty freaked out. Inside the barn was dead silent except for that creepy clicking noise. It was the same sound from my first run-in with that thing. I busted out my flashlight and sure enough, there it was. Skinny, smart-looking eyes, real freaky. As soon as I spotted it, it bolted into the woods like a bat out of hell. So after the creature was gone, the cop just chilled in the barn for a bit, trying to wrap his head around what just went down. His flashlight hit on bits of crap the creature left behind. The animals were freaked out, just like him. This messed up creature-stealing livestock situation just got even weirder. The cop felt freaked, but also like determined. Had to find out what was going on, so I took a few quick pics. Walking out of the barn, I could still kind of hear the shutter sound. My heart was beating fast as I headed back to my car, the whole thing kind of messing with my head. Back at his car, he sat quiet as hell, hearing nothing but the engine cooling down and some far-off owl hooting. The creature now seemed real and was totally messing with his head. Summer rolled in, turning everything all golden yellow and sunny, no clouds in sight. But all this happy summer stuff wasn't doing anything to help the cop chill out. He was getting pretty wrecked from all these weird encounters, but he was still going at it. The third call hit him in the middle of a hot afternoon. This time it wasn't just that the farm animals were gone, but there were daytime sightings of this thing now. He was feeling scared, but also a bit hyped as he headed back to the creepy farm. The fear was through the roof when he arrived. The guy from the farm looks like he's seen a ghost. There's some skinny, freaky creature running around on all fours making weird noises. Cops heard the same story before, so he thinks it's legit. So he decides to go looking for it in the woods by the barn. That's where it always seems to vanish. Even though it's like broad daylight, the cop takes his gun and a flashlight just in case. He's headed into the shaded trees. The woods were eerily quiet. Then he heard a rustle, a crack, and this creepy clicking noise. He turned around and saw it. This time, it didn't bolt. This thing stops and gives him this weird stare down. It's broad daylight so he can see it properly. The thing is stick-thin and white as a mister. Clean. Suddenly it just bolts off into the bushes. All that's left are these strange clicking sounds. The officer comes out of the woods, sweating and dusty as the sun goes down. It was real. As I left, I knew I had to figure out what this thing actually is, not just for me, but for the sake of the folks living there. This was the third time we've crossed paths, but I'm pretty sure it won't be the last. So, as the leaves turned all shades of pretty in good old small-town Pennsylvania, our local cop found himself heading back to that same farm. Yet another call from the farm's owner. Dude sounded pretty freaked out about the creature. Not just the job bringing the cop back this time, but he's curious himself. Gotta wrap up this weird chapter. He rolls up, and damn, the farm's quiet. The hired hand and the owner are waiting there, looking like they're holding their breath for him. They're seeing the critter more often now, and it's got guts, showing up even in broad daylight. The cop, decked out with more than just his torch this time, headed into the woods, where it looked like the critter was hanging out. His first-time jitters had turned into pure resolve. He was ready to face this thing. He was met by the usual dead quiet of the woods. Dead silent except for this creepy clicking sound that got louder. He booked it towards the sound, flashlight and gun ready. Then bam, he saw it in a clearing. Pale, creepy thing crawling his way. He locked eyes with the emotionless creature. Instantly he shot his gun, the loud noise cutting through the forest quiet. The thing shrieked, recoiling and leaving behind a trail of gross black ooze as it bolted. Cop rushed over to where that thing got hit. Scooped up some of that weird black goop, head buzzing with questions. What was that thing? Was it injured? Was it a threat? His past run-ins with it weren't hostile, but he'd been seeing it more often, so he felt he had to be safe. He took the samples to a local lab for testing, hoping for some answers. But he got nothing back. When he called to check in, he got the runaround and then, nothing. It was like this critter and its weird black goo just up and disappeared from the farm and science altogether. So no real answers came up, but the cop was kind of relieved. No more weird stuff happening at the farm from that day on. Did the creepy thing get spooked or just bug out? He didn't know. His creepy crawly chapter closed, though. Being messed around by that thing was a crazy runner in the cop's life, though. A real brain scratch, showing him that there's stuff out there that just makes reality go bonkers. So this dude wanders in a creepy forest, touches some gross black gunk on a leaf, and bam, his life gets twisted. He's got this memory of a creature, like a straight-up freaky deja vu. This isn't from some book. This is straight from a cop who wants to stay unknown. Makes you realize there's a lot of hidden creepy stuff in real life. So this story is like a reminder of how much stuff we just don't know. The cop's encounter throws in some can't-explain-this moments. We could assume the critter was bad news, but it never went for a fight unless stirred up, like in the final showdown. This kind of stuff is why we're all here, for the weird, the unheard of, the creepy. As we dig into more stories, we're only getting more intrigued by the unknown. We keep wondering, searching, trying to make sense of what's just out of our sight. There's this super old rundown house in the woods behind where I grew up. It was so forgotten, there was actually a tree growing through the patio floor and out the ceiling. We used to call it the treehouse when we were kids. Yeah, the paint was all chipped and some of the bedrooms had caved-in roofs, but it was the best hideout for a bunch of bored kids. It definitely made the woods more fun. We always made up stories about who lived in that old house. Probably cowboys or criminals, maybe even both. Why is this house so isolated? We always joked they must have buried their guns or loot there. Even dug up a few patches of the land. All we ever found were bones. Not human ones, by the way. They were tiny, probably animal bones. We didn't pay them much mind, though. Soon we were teens using the house for partying and smokes. The old gnarly paintings that were already hard to distinguish became our dartboard. The house was always a dump. We weren't doing anything to it that time hadn't already done. Our little games hardly put a dent in it compared to these weird long scratches. From the start, Those scratches were hella strange. 4 big lines running across each room. Looks like a giant fork scratched our treehouse walls. No guesses what weird thing did that. We noped out of there the moment we found out. Got a knock one night, though. We quickly hid our stuff under the wonky couch we brought from down the street. We were all there, so the door knock wasn't one of us. We figured no one else knew about this spot, so it had to be our folks. But plot twist. When we opened the door, ready to blurt out apologies, there was absolutely nobody. Got our flashlights and checked around the house thinking someone was messing with us. We were all freaked out and ready to catch whoever was pranking us. But honestly, we didn't have a clue what we were really looking for. We had no idea what was in store for us or that shit was about to get even scarier. Then we heard this noise, kind of like a shovel scraping stone coming from inside the house. We were like, how the hell did they slip past us and get inside? Freaking mystery, man. We just wanted to stake our claim. At the time, it felt like a big deal even though we hadn't seen the issue yet. But once we got back inside, we totally did. Saw this adult-sized thing. Wasn't a man, though, or even human. Had a bald, bloated head. Weird stuff. This thing had weirdly spaced, bulbous eyes and a wide, drooly mouth full of needle teeth. Its skin was freaky, like sticky melted taffy, and the worst were its hands. This thing had freakishly long hands with fingers that looked like they'd been yanked out of place. They ended in sharp claws that were tearing into the walls, carving 4 lines from one corner to the other. So we barged in and totally startled this thing. It starts hissing and growling at us, and someone, no clue who, pukes their guts out. We totally lost it, probably made fools of ourselves, and booked it out of there. We legged it out of the house, feeling like some weird creature was after us. Sneaked a look back every now and then. To be honest, not sure if it was really chasing us or just our imagination. Imagined it hopping through trees or leaping over bushes, though. Chasing this might have felt like a nightmare out of fear, or maybe just our survival instincts telling us to not give up, even when we're totally spent. But what we found in that treehouse, man, that was no nightmare. No, it was very real. It was messed up on a whole new level. Those eyes and teeth said it all. We were in its territory, probably for too long. If that thing got us, we'd be toast. They'd find us shredded. We were quicker than we seemed, luckily. Tried to spill the beans to our folks. Got lectured, reeking of booze and smoke. They thought we were tripping on something besides fear. We got grounded and stuff, fair enough. Got grounded. Chores went through the roof. But who cares? We got off easy, right? Apparently we're stuck in the house for months. Took me years to want to leave my bed. Hey, I'm Jed from Montana, and I work on a ranch. Seen all kinds of critters, but something happened a few weeks ago that really got me. I was going to check on the cows one night because they'd been acting up, and there was this weird smell in the air. This job made me want to barf, seriously. I'm a ranch hand and no 2 days are the same. Usually I'm up super early feeding cows, fixing fences, and dealing with equipment. I kind of love the routine and being so in tune with nature and the animals. I've gotten to know our local wildlife pretty well over time. I've seen it all, from coyote howls to bear tracks, rattlesnakes, deer, bobcats, you name it. But man, that night was something else. The cows were acting weird, it smelled funky, and the noises were straight up spooky. Felt like nature flipped the script on me. Whatever was out there was way out of my league. Honestly, it was pretty creepy. Not just the weird cow smells, but I started hearing wild noises like howls, but not quite. Could have been some coyote or wolf, but it was too weird. Not like any coyote or wolf sounds I've heard before. Heard some creepy low sounds, kind of like echoing grunts. They weren't like coyote yelps, more of a howling thing that gave me serious chills. The growls were freaky too, not like a bear's warning. These were deeper, like they were bouncing off everything and going right through me. Kinda even sounded like a crazy loud monkey holler. Totally freaked me out. Felt like something was off in nature today, freaked me out a bit. Kept on with my day though, weird stuff kept happening. Saw this massive creature lurking by the trees, at least 9 feet tall, wide shoulders, huge chest. Its beady black eyes were sparkling in the moonlight, sat on a cone-shaped head that seemed to directly connect to its body without a neck. Freaky, huh? Saw this weird critter today. Didn't run or anything, just stood there like it was sizing me up. It moved pretty weird too, like it was dancing or something, just shifting its weight back and forth. This critter kept its bead-like eyes on me the whole time, like it was trying to figure me out. It wasn't scared of me at all. I was clearly on its turf. Its unflinching stare and chilling composure were what really got me. I was having this creepy silent showdown with this thing, right? And I swear it was acting like it had the upper hand and cool as hell while I was freaking out inside. I gotta be honest with you, I was about to shit bricks. Seriously, I've seen some stuff in my time, but nothing as freaky as whatever the hell this was. So there I was, stuck in this weird-ass horror movie showdown, too shocked to do anything. Damn, meeting this huge freaky thing was way too much, even for me. My heart was going nuts and it hit me. I'm stuck in some uncontrollable crap here. The initial shock faded and left this mix of fear and intrigue. Even though every part of me was screaming to bounce, I was just glued there, completely hung up on this thing that felt like it came out of a fairy tale. Didn't stick around to see what happened next, though. Bolted home and didn't stop till I was safe inside. The cows weren't the same after that. They were really agitated, huddled together and all. They were mooing in the fields at night, making sounds of being uneasy. And me? I was a nervous wreck as well, so I started checking the fields more often, specifically at sunrise and sunset. I even put up some extra floodlights near the barn and kept a close watch on the fences. Used to love the peace of working on the land, but now I'm always on high alert. I talked to a local animal guru to see if he knew what the creature could be. He was as clueless as me, but he thinks it could be a big-ass bear or maybe a misunderstood moose. So the description was off and we both felt it. I still can't help but think about that night, and I'm always a bit jumpy, especially around nature sounds. Well, that's about it. Figured you guys might find it interesting. Can anyone explain what I saw that night? Hey guys, here's a crazy story from my last vacation. Yeah, Florida's famous for beaches and Disneyland, but trust me, Everglades are the real deal. Made a trip around 6 months ago with my mates. Totally over the daily grind, we chose to go off the beaten track instead of hitting up another theme park. So, we ended up booking a guided tour of the Everglades. Can't wait to hop on those airboats and maybe see some gators. Not exactly your everyday neighborhood sight. The day of the tour was perfect, all sunny as we zoomed through the massive Everglades. Seeing gators chilling on the banks, peeking above the water, was just rad. About an hour in, as it's getting dark, our boat's engine went kaput. We initially thought it was a prank, but our guide's cussing and panicked face made it clear it wasn't. Us city folk were way out of our comfort zone. Our guide Gus tried to chill us out, said it was just a minor issue he dealt with before. Without the engine, the swamp got super quiet except for the odd splash here and there. We were all just hanging out, clueless, while Gus messed with the engine. When it really got dark, the swamp noises got crazy loud. It was creepy quiet and the swamp felt super eerie. We all kind of felt vulnerable for whatever reason. Then, out of nowhere, there's this massive splash in the water near us. Couldn't tell you how big this thing was, but it was no small fry. It wasn't your regular fish or gator splash either. Seemed like it was on purpose. Struggled to see anything after hearing a splash in the swamp. Nothing. Gus, our guide, was busy fixing something, totally ignoring us, starting to freak out. Seriously felt like we were sitting ducks. None of us knew zip about swamps. We all admitted we were pretty spooked, so we had no clue what was happening out there. Just when we thought it couldn't suck more, this rumbling noise starts in the swamp. Sounds like some heavy-ass thing coming our way. Tried getting Gus's attention, but he's too busy cursing at the engine. Started freaking out, squinting like crazy. Saw two creepy yellow eyes in the bushes with the moonlight as backup. Definitely not a gator. Nearly shat myself when some big-ass shadow started moving behind the greenery. Scary stuff, man. Saw this really tall, shadowy figure standing on two legs. Looked kinda like a human, but its head was all dinosaur-like or lizard-ish with what I swear were sharp teeth glinting in the moonlight. We freaked out, whispering like crazy until Gus finally noticed, and crap, you should have seen his face. Pure terror. Gus getting scared really freaked us out. But dude bounced back fast, telling us to shut up while he quickly snatched a shotgun from underneath the wheel. Meanwhile, this lizard-like thing was just lurking at the edge of our sight, basically playing cat and mouse with us. Weirdly, it didn't come near our boat. But knowing we were stuck there with no way out was absolutely terrifying. Finally, Gus got the engine started again. He quickly ditched the beast, and when we got back, it just felt so unreal. Gus? Clammed up, won't answer a single question about it. Everyone's back to normal, but you can tell something's different. Our chill, normal life was toast. Now, every weird sound brings me back to that beat-up boat, staring at those freaky yellow eyes in the Everglades. I don't know what was out to get us that night, but we were definitely not the bosses. The beast was. So I had this wild experience while fixing up an old barn in Jersey. Legit still can't wrap my head around it. Sounds pretty unbelievable. But I'm just gonna lay it out. You guys decide. Was just doing some barn restoration. Honestly, the homeowner should have just demolished it and built a new one, but they loved the history and wanted to keep it original. So there I was, a week into refitting this old barn. Because hey, a job's a job, right? Found a secret passage in my barn one morning, hidden behind a rotten wooden plank. Thought, why not check it out? Was planning on removing that bit anyway. What I found was a real blast from the past. Found a dusty, time-forgotten room in an old barn today. Pretty awesome. It's got cool drawings etched on the walls like a creature that's half deer, half winged beast. Not your average bird or anything. Pretty rad. So it had wings kind of like a bat or a dragon, you know, if you're into that sort of thing. It had this long, thin body with hooves, but it didn't look like any critter I'd seen before. The face was all messed up, like someone tried to morph a goat and a horse. Honestly, words can't express how creepy it looked. This place was seriously creepy. I checked out the room, totally buzzing. It was packed with stuff like clay pots, tools, bones, random metal things, like a mini museum display. The walls and floor even had weird writing or symbols I couldn't understand. Swear it looked like a witch's hideout. For a hot second, I wanted to bail and pretend I never saw the place. So I was zoning out when this feeling of dread hit me out of nowhere. Like everything felt wrong in the room. Hairs standing, heavy air, the works. Tried to tell myself I was tripping, but yeah, something was off. Took out my light to look around, making sure I was alone. I've had wildlife run-ins before at work, not my favorite thing. Thought my jitters might just be a sneaky raccoon or possum. But then I heard a soft growl from the shadows. I slowly turned towards it, flashlight ready. Next thing I saw will stick with me forever. There was this creature, exactly like in the drawings, chilling in the light. It had scales kind of like armor on its torso and back, and further down its legs transitioned into fur. It had a mane and huge wings. Its face was a gross mix of a goat, horse, and goblin. Looked like a greyhound snout, too. Basically, it was a freaky mashup of a bunch of animals. Wasn't sure what to make of it. Just gawked in shock. The thing was really skinny, practically a skeleton. Its wings looked messed up, too. They were all bat-like, but torn up and shredded at the bottoms. This thing straight up stinks like sulfur and burnt hair. Gross, right? Seriously creepy looking, too. It gave me a glance, pretty much uninterested. Kinda did this freaky snake tongue thing. Anyway, I noped out of there to my car. That thing didn't even chase me, I'd see. I noped out of the barn and never went back. My team thought I was crazy and the property owner was pissed. But no way I'm stepping back in there. I was left with a ton of questions, but hell no. I ain't looking for answers in there. I gotta say, I often wonder who the hell made those drawings. Was the artist buddies with that creepy thing or what? The pics were detailed, so they probably saw it more than once. Maybe they even worshipped it, who knows? That's a question for all you monster hunters out there. Just thinking about it gives me the creeps. Pretty sure I encountered the Jersey Devil back there, or some other creepy creature. Hope I never cross paths with it again. Not keen on going monster hunting. Some things are just better not messed with. Got a story to tell you guys about my grandma believing my cousin Alex had a demon inside him. She's so convinced it's kind of hard not to believe her sometimes. When Alex was 2, his folks died in a car crash and he lived with Grandma till he left for college. I always thought his wild behavior was because he lost his parents so young, but Granny's dead sure he was possessed. He's turned out all right now, but my bro was a menace growing up. My grandma, bless her, devout Catholic and all, lives out in the sticks. She's all in on demons and all that spooky stuff. It all kicked off when my bro, Alex, was just 6. According to Grandma, he started acting all weird. So Alex was typically this upbeat kid, right? Suddenly, he's all weird and talking to himself in some freaky voice. Grandma's flipping out thinking he's possessed or something. Now it all began with him having those scary dreams like every damn night. He'd wake up freaking out and Grams would try calming him down. Yet shit started to hit the fan later on. So my grandma caught him talking to himself in a weird voice and wasn't recognizing her. She tried chatting with him but got nothing. She hauled Alex off to their church priest, hoping for an exorcism or something. Priest wasn't having it and told her he couldn't do anything. But Grandma was persistent and kept looking for help. My grandma once woke up to Alex freaking out in the middle of the night. She found him twisting and turning in bed, eyes shut and speaking some gibberish. She shouted for help, and eventually they managed to calm him down. She tried everything to figure out what was up, asking priests, paranormal hunters, and even a few healers for advice. Some folks didn't believe her, while others tried to help but couldn't. Over time, Alex started acting weird. He'd chuck stuff around, speak in weird language and all. My grandma was sure he was possessed. She stopped work just to look after him. She was scared stiff that Alex might end up hurting himself or someone else. She was scared that demon would stick to him forever. While my grandma was out grocery shopping, Alex started his freaky screaming and chucking things around, including himself. When Grandma came back, she found him all bruised and scratched up. Desperate, my granny decided to visit this famous exorcist who lived just a city away. She asked him to help her grandson, so he agreed to exorcise the kid. The crappy part was, it took forever. But they finally managed to kick out the bad spirit from Alex. Granny was relieved, but she felt like the whole thing had changed Alex for good. The exorcist said the demon was attracted to Alex because he was an easy target. He also told us the demon was living off Alex's bad moods, which was making him act out and even more aggressive. Grandma got a heads up to keep an eye on Alex after his exorcism, just in case those pesky demons decided to make a comeback. Post-exorcism, Alex was doing a lot better. No more speaking in creepy tongues or chucking stuff everywhere. Grandma was pretty sure the demon was history, but she still kept praying for her grandkids' safety. In the end, Alex was back to his normal self, being a happy, healthy kid again. My grandma firmly believes my bro Alex was possessed by a demon, and only faith saved him. She prays for his safety every day and is super thankful that he's doing well now. After everything, her faith has only deepened. Oh, and you wouldn't believe the supernatural stuff she started buying into now. It's as if she thinks we live in an episode of the X-Files or something. Wild, right? My grandma still thinks Alex was straight up possessed. She's sure he got saved by having faith. It's made her super religious and always on lookout for any possession signs. She's 100% sure demons and spooky stuff are real. She believes they can take over folks, making them act all crazy and dangerous. My grandma's ghost stories always make me pay attention to the weird stuff around me and tell others to do the same. Honestly, her stories leave me wondering about all sorts of supernatural stuff. Makes you think, what other weird stuff is out there that we don't get yet?